Three questions? Okay.
Yeah, first there's the introductions. So each of the speakers are going to introduce themselves just for a bit, and then
I think we are live. Margaret, do you
yeah,
wanna
I think so.
start? Do you wanna start leading the debate?
Yes. Want to start? Is Qatar on?
Yes, I think everyone. We're only just missing one person. Yeah, here we go.
Nice. Good morning. Welcome to iWise 8, and especially welcome to this beautiful early morning session. It's 7 o'clock right now in Qatar. It's 7 o'clock actually in New York, and I believe it is around 2 p.m. right now in Middle East. We have a beautiful session today focusing on the progress related to the sustainable development goals in the Middle East region. And we will discuss with our expertise from the region how Middle Eastern countries has been achieving some and what kind of progress they have been doing for the last couple years to achieve the SDG. As everyone aware, we are halfway and to achieve the SDG, which is by 2030. And for that reason, we will focus today in the Middle East region and the progress toward achieving that. And for start the day, I have the honor and the pleasure to have couple expertise. They will highlight the progress for Middle East country achieving the SDG. I want to give the mic for Suad. Suad, kindly, can you introduce yourself for our audience online? And what do you think Middle East as a region has come far? And what should we do collective effort and locally as a country individuals to fasten the process achieving the SDG?
Thank you very much, Margaret, for this great introduction, and it's a great honor to be with you on this panel today. I take myself humbly to say I'm not an expert in the SDGs goal, but I have worked on certain projects that are related or help to improve the overall level of SDGs in my country and all over globally. And I think you raised a really important point, Margaret, with regards to SDGs in the Middle East and how we can actually move it forward. And on a personal level, I believe that youth have the capacity and skills it needs in order for them to lead the future of SDGs in their own countries. And I do believe, even though the Middle East in the past and currently is facing a lot of challenges and struggles, but it also where a lot of opportunities lies within its youth and its government and smart leaders. And I personally believe that, from my part, some of the projects that I worked on have did support increasing the effects of SDGs in my place. And yeah, I didn't mention I'm Saad from the United Arab Emirates and currently studying international development and cooperation in South Korea.
Nice, Suad. Nice, and that's actually a brief introduction about yourself. I would like to know more, but maybe when I give you the floor later on. Abdul Qadir, I want to also you to highlight, or from your own perspective, the same question. But in the same time, I also want you to touch upon major challenge that facing the region to fasten the progress achieving the SDG. The floor for you, Abdul Qadir.
Hello, good afternoon. It's actually here on time. Good morning in New York time. So I'm Abu Bakr Abdullah. I'm from Sudan, currently residing in the United Arab Emirates. So I'm a youth worker. I'm sorry, like I'm facing like some technical issues with my camera. So the yeah I mean like I'm part of couple international like youth movements like the World Assembly of Youth, the Afro Arab Youth Council. I'm a member of the founding committee of the Sudanese Youth Council. Like actually the young people of the region of the Middle East, MENA region, Middle East and North African region, actually, they are facing a lot of challenges. Like in case, like if you allow me here, like I'm going to connect the SDGs and the youth issues mainly. So in terms of education, in terms of employment, immigration, health. So yes, I mean like we are the young people due to the disasters, to the conflicts. They're facing a lot of issues. I mean, like in these specific sectors. So the like usually the challenges is that like we find like we have like good partnerships with like sponsors, donors, so that like we come up with projects for the young people in terms of employability, in terms of education and health. So these are the things that actually will actually encourage young people to like to maintain like in their countries, like not to think about the illegal immigration to other words. So I think these are the main points that I can mention for now.
Thank you so much, Abdulkader. Thank you, and I hope we see you soon, because it's important for our online participant to see and interact with the speaker. So hopefully this technical issue has been solved soon. Muhaira, I hope I pronounce your name correctly, but I want to switch the question for you regarding the progress for Middle East region achieving the SDG, and maybe you can also emphasize on a story, personal story, that you did or your team or your civil society make that the achievement for the SDG closer. The floor is yours, Muhair.
Sure, yeah. You pronounced it perfectly right, by the way. As you mentioned, my name is Mahera. I graduated from Georgetown University in 2019 with a degree in international economics. And I'm currently working towards getting my master's degree in sustainability. I'm originally from Sudan, but I was born and raised in Qatar. I decided to align my personal passion for environmentalism with my career. And so I joined a Big Four firm based in Qatar, where I work as a climate change and sustainability consultant. In my time as a sustainability consultant, I've advised clients across the region on their corporate sustainability strategies. Also, outside of work, luckily, actually, my company provides a lot of opportunities to participate in extracurriculars. So outside of work, I regularly participate in climate workshops with regional universities and NGOs that engage with today's youth on the importance of climate action. Very similar to the initiative I'm participating in today. So to answer your question, so reflecting on my own line of work and the experience I've had so far, so the SDGs that I've seen a lot of our clients in the MENA region focus on. So I'll get to that question in a second. But first, I want to say that across all the projects I worked on in the MENA region, I really do see a lot of willingness from our clients to understand and identify and also communicate their impacts on the SDGs. So there really is a genuine willingness to take this step. And the reason I started by talking about our clients' willingness is because I think this is a massive part of achieving the SDGs. It's about changing the way we act and we think about sustainability. So today's corporate organizations, especially, they need a cultural change. It's not enough for a company to say they're working towards adopting sustainability. It has to be more meaningful for a company to truly and fully have the will to integrate sustainability. What that means is integrating sustainability into its core mission as a business, its core values, its strategies. So that also includes incorporating it into their corporate culture, amongst their board members, their management, all the way down to the employees like you and me that work across different departments. So going back to our MENA clients, I'm very happy to say that I'm seeing this willingness to really embrace sustainability and create a sustainability culture. And even a lot of these companies, they carry this forward to their interactions with their suppliers and their partners and other stakeholders. As I mentioned earlier, these same clients, they show a real interest in their impact on the SDGs. And across the projects I've worked on, I've seen almost every SDG being impacted in some form or the other. But I'd like to highlight 5 main SDGs that have
We will, we will
held the
for that.
spotlight.
We will come for that. The 5 main SDG that your work has been touched. But I do believe right now we have corporate and we have civil society and youth integrated in both, either individually or civil society or corporate. So I want you to hold to that point, but I will go back to Suad, and I want to hard to emphasize on the civil society contribution that maybe she witnessed or work with to help in achieving the SDG. Suad, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Magid. Again, a great introduction and a great knowledge for me also to learn from you as well. And with regards to the general public and how we're increasing the understanding of it, I personally believe one of the main issues that kind of stop us from achieving SDGs is the general understanding of the general public of the concept of SDGs. Why do we have the SDGs and why they're important, and why do we have to have knowledge about it? And with regards to working on it on a personal level, I did work on a small project. One of the projects is, of course, the International Youth Conference, as the one that we're attending right now. As one of the founding members, me and my team, we believe that it would be a great opportunity for us to provide educational opportunities for youth all over the world, even in marginalized areas. And we believe that this will pursue the part of development of the educational part and supporting youth. And another aspect that I worked upon was supporting youth in orphanages, providing them with the right environment in order for them to have better education, educate themselves, their communities, and hopefully have better future. And with regards to what's currently happening in the UAE, I cannot talk on an official level, but I can talk as a public person who's been living there all my life. And I've noticed that there have been a lot of efforts with regards kind of making the general know about SDGs. We have a lot of initiatives that are being taking part of encouraging government officials, encouraging public schools, public institutions to actually take part in competitions of SDGs, and encouraging them to come up with initiatives that will be summed up under one of the entities. It's called the Statistics and Comparative Entity, which they do select and collect all the work that is being done by general people and also individuals and governments and private sectors, and they do highlight it on yearly basis and monthly basis through events, activities, promoting the concept itself. And I personally believe that that itself is really important, because on a personal level, when I worked on my own project, I was reached out and I was asked about it to raise more knowledge about it. And I think that concept and this idea itself does support the community to understand more about SDG in general.
Nice, Saad. And I want to go back to you and what you emphasize. And you located in the UAE, and all of us aware that UAE is waiting for a big celebration, which is hosting the COP 28. But you also mentioned your contribution for IYC and how is that youth-led movement has been assistant in a certain country to achieving this SDG.
Yeah.
Muhaira, building on that point and coming back to the 5 main things that your corporate has been touching, or 5 more SDG that your corporate has been touching, can you elaborate on that point? Because I remember I cut you, but I still have that in my note. Please.
It's the same question referred to me, right?
No, for Muhaira.
Muhaira, yeah, please.
Yeah, no worries. Suad, if you'd like to go first, that's fine too.
No worries at all. I think I've talked a lot. Mahira, we need to hear.
Okay, so going back to the 5 main SDGs. So these are SDGs that I've seen a lot of our clients focus on. So first we have SDG 5, which is gender equality. We have SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth. we have SDG 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. And for the last two, we have SDG 13, which is climate action, and SDG 17, which is the partnership for the goals. I'll talk a little bit about some of those SDG, not all five, just in the interest of time. So for the gender equality, I'll start with that one. We actually see a lot of focus from both the MENA private sector entities and also the governmental entities that we worked with on ensuring that the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what is known popularly as DEI, we're seeing a lot of that being represented in our clients' sustainability strategies, especially towards sustainable development. And this has mostly been through improving their hiring processes to ensure a fair and equal assessment of female candidates, and also holding sensitization sessions. Those are basically just awareness-raising sessions for the hiring managers and the recruitment teams, just to talk to them about the importance of gender diversity in the workplace. Another way they're also achieving impact on the gender equality SDG is through developing different types of skill development programs or skill accelerators for women. Sometimes these are targeted at uplifting their own female employees. That's in the case of the private companies, or in the case of the governmental entities, these involve society-wide programs that are actually open to the whole female community. Next, I'll talk a bit about SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth. So I've seen a lot of focus from our clients on their gross value added, or GVA. Basically, it's a productivity metric that measures the economic impact that a particular entity has on the economy. So a lot of companies actually look at this and they try to convey this number to show the kind of impact they're having on the local economy. So there's a big focus on economic expansion and performance. But how this ties back to sustainability is that in many of the cases, these companies would try to align with the national vision. I'll give an example, like in Saudi Arabia, the companies we're working with, they try to align with the National Vision 2030. And what this National Vision 2030 says, it explicitly mentions economic growth as one of its main targets, but also it mentions diversifying away from oil-based sectors while achieving this growth. So we have, of course, economic growth, which has always been there for across centuries, but we also have this added factor of let's actually do good with this economic growth. So many of our clients would actually cite this national strategy that they're aligning with, and they would indicate their own contribution to the local economy and also to sustainable development. As I mentioned, especially when this economic growth is in a manner that moves away from carbon-intensive production and maybe focuses on sectors that support the clean transition to the net zero economy. The last one I'll talk about is SDG 17, which is partnerships. This is a really, really important SDG, and I'm seeing a lot of our clients actually being very enthusiastic about it. So a lot of our clients are actually making a conscious choice to partner with international organizations that are leading in the space of sustainability. Of course, as we know, MENA is still a nascent market. You know, when it comes to sustainability, it's still maturing, it's still growing, it's developing. So I think a lot of this sustainability progress will come through partnerships with perhaps more developed organization, more developed governments. So a lot of these clients are actually partnering with some of these leading organizations in sustainability to gain best practice insights.
Thank you, Muhaira. But I still want to be with you for a minute, asking you the same question. How you, and with your platform, with your corporate, convincing a client like myself walking to your door to include SDG in their work? What's their message that you guys in your corporate, in your firm, has been approaching client with?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is actually a really good point because a lot of the challenge sometimes lies in trying to convince these companies to incorporate sustainability as a whole, and of course the SDGs as a result of that. So I would say a big part of our approach is actually convincing clients that they're doing something that aligns with things they might already be doing, but in many cases they don't even notice that it's supporting sustainable development. And I've seen this with a lot of clients. So a lot of them do have focus on gender diversity in their strategies. A lot of them do in many cases focus on energy efficiency to cut costs, for example. A lot of them do have very strict rules about how they treat their workers. Worker welfare, that's a big part of sustainability, decent work, as we mentioned earlier. So a big part of it is actually highlighting to these clients, hey, look, I mean, you are actually already engaging in sustainable development. Let's work towards putting that into a framework, formalizing it. That's the idea here. And also showing them that there is a good return that comes from it. Of course, the main reason should be out of ethical responsibility for any company. But also, on the other hand, a lot of these big companies, they want to see how that reflects in their balance sheet at the end of the day, what it means for their returns, for their costs. And there's actually a very good argument for how sustainability can reflect very well on your long-term growth, your long-term value creation. For example, if you're an investor and you have to think about investing in a sustainable company that has sustainable practices, maybe they use renewable energy. And then on the other hand, you have the option of investing in a coal plant that produces energy. It's very profitable. But at the same time, in the long run, we definitely know that eventually we're going to see a lot of concerns coming up when it comes to those kind of companies, because there will be a lot of carbon tax coming in the future. Yeah.
Thank you, Mira. Thank you, Mira. We asked Abdulkader not ask a couple of questions due to technical issue, but right now I have one question with two sides, Abdulkader. Our conversation here is about our region as MENA and the progress achieved in the SDG. And as everyone aware, us as a youth is the drive or the force drive for the SDG achievement in the region. I want you to highlight how is the youth that you work with or you have been worked with contribute to the SDG, and what do you think the youth in MENA main challenge? Please, the floor is yours, Abdulkader.
Thank you, Majid. Yes, I believe that, I mean, like the young people of MENA region, they have like a very, I mean, like a big role to play in achieving the SDGs. And that's what we have been like advocating for and empowering young people for, is that like young people should, I mean, like, of the MENA region should step forward and to be proactive, creating like the partnerships with governments, with private sectors to achieve the sustainable development goals, rather than like just like waiting for other like organizations or like other sectors to do this. So the I mean like I'm going to talk here like about, let's say, like the most of the regional youth organizations. And because like in Middle East and Africa, because like we have the African Youth Union. They're focusing as well, like we are part of, and it's focusing about the working on youth issues, and like the memberships are like from different national youth councils in Africa, playing like a big role in the integrating like young people's issues, such as again like employment, education, and health. Another organization like how we have the Afro Arab Youth Council. Now also like we are preparing like a report for the youth issues in the Afro and Arab region. So we are like I mean like getting like statistics on the state of young people in the region. Also, like it's a very important thing, like to start with it, so like we know like where is exactly the gaps. But like so far, what we can see is that like the major thing is like the employability, and these are like the major issues for young people in terms of as well participating of young people in the armed conflicts, and the immigration. These are, I think, like the main three challenges of the young people in Middle East and Africa. But at the same time, you can see that, I mean, like also like here, like from the like youth organizations, like who are playing like a very important role. Like there are too many, I mean, like, initiatives such as,
Abdul,
can you,
I want you emphasize briefly in the challenge because this is also is the main factor that's stopping youth across the globe, especially in MENA, as we speak about it, to progress. And as intergenerational and moving the power from the old generation to the younger generation, one of those challenge. Can you emphasize in that point so quick, please? I want you to summarize in the challenge and touch upon how is youth like yourself getting the power and handling the power or being a part of decision maker while there is other people, older generation, being in a place. I want you to brief 2 minutes for that question, please.
yes. So, I mean, like as I've just mentioned, I mean, like the challenges that faced by young people. Actually, it's a different thing. Like it's sometimes like it's social, it's an economic and political challenges that young people they face, and sometimes like also like it's some a kind of cultural issues that young people they face. So it's it's mostly like on partnerships, like on skill, the required skills to that we need to possess to I mean like contribute to solving of this of the issues. But I think like yeah, like I think it's more the of the challenges as are actually regarding on the funding. Sometimes there's like, well, I mean like when we talk to donors, they say like there are funding allocated there, but we don't find like a capable organizations or people to deliver these projects. So here like we'll come to like to the skill gap. Of course, like we need like to have like the skill, the soft skills, the employability skills, this thing, because we used to hear this like a lot of time. It's there is a fund, let's say, like for education, for employment, for setting, but we don't find capable I mean, like firms or organizations to deliver this. So these, so again, like capability building, the technical and vocational training. So these are the I mean, like, the issues that we need to solve on that. Young people themselves, they are trying also we are trying our best to bridge this gap, but at the same time also like we need the focus to be like more on I mean like the employability skills, the life skills, the technical and vocational skills. So yes.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Abdullah. Suad, I think you heard my question for Abdul, but I'm just proud and happy to see the COP28 presidency, all of them, or most of them, are youth. And such example inspire you as a youth from the region to do more. I want you to brief me in the participation of the youth to achieve the SDG, but from one point, from the point of how you like presidency COP28 did the platform, because as we know, we always want to contribute, we always want our voice heard, but we face some challenge from all the generation. How? Please brief me in this point.
Magd, thank you very much for this point, and I'll be more than happy to answer. But also, just to add one point for the question you just asked, Abu Bakr, I think one of the challenges that we face in the MENA region could be the lack of opportunities for youth, which could leave them feel lost somehow. But I think with regards to the COP28, again, I cannot speak officially because I'm not part of the team or a member that's working on the committee of leading the COP28. But based on what I could see as a national who's living in the UAE but currently resident in South Korea, there have been a lot of great opportunities to use on to youth on a personal level. A lot of my friends are on board with as committee members. They're negotiators for the climate, and they're working on a lot of great initiatives. I'm happy to see that they are being educated. They're giving the opportunity to learn more about COP. They're giving the opportunity to, for an example, a lot of youth to share their project, to host their research papers. And I think the great part is that opportunity is given to all. And these kind of opportunities were actually provided on the internet, on like social media, and allowing all youth and asking them to join, which I believe is a great way to give equal opportunities to all youth who are actually good, instead of just designating certain tasks to a certain person. And I think from different part of COP28 in the UAE, as part where I'm seeing it, youth are leading and tackling every part of it, which I believe is amazing, and is an amazing part. And it's interesting to see that also school students who are in school are also being involved in different part of COP28. And I think it's also built up on the COP26 that was in Egypt. There was a lot to learn from, and I think the COP27 or COP28 could also give a great opportunity to the region itself, also for the UAE.
Nice. You mean COP
28, sorry.
You're right.
Yes.
Muhaira, like when you talk about the corporate social responsibility achieving the SDG, and how you elaborate in your message for the client to include the SDG. But from your standpoint, maybe this is only one company, two company, three company. How can this message that you nicely elaborated and give it to your client can be among all corporate or sent to the region? So that will be collective effort. In what platform should business, corporate work on that? So because right now we're trying to take the region as government, corporate, individuals, youth, civil society. Can you brief me on that, please?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. And I think it goes back to what we mentioned about partnerships. Nothing can be done in a vacuum. If you have one company, as you mentioned, that's doing really well, that's not good enough, because we need more action across different sectors. We need more action across the public and the private sector. So I think a very big an important point to make sure that we're making a difference across both the public sector and the private sector is partnerships. And a platform I would say that's important for these companies is something like, for example, the Conference of Parties, or the COP28, as you guys have already mentioned. It was actually a recommendation of ours to one of our clients to participate in the COP. And I remember the client's management took this recommendation very well, and they actually saw the kind of benefit this would bring back to their company. And a very big point that we mentioned for them is that by participating in something like the COP, they would have this kind of exposure to what other companies are doing. They would have an exposure to what the MENA region in general has been accomplishing so far. So I really think it comes back to partnerships. And it comes back to going out of just your bubble, even as a company, collaborating with others, collaborating with the public sector, with governments. And as I mentioned, luckily in our projects, we don't only work with corporate firms, we've actually been working with governments as well. And I think that's a really, really big part of making that kind of big difference that you're talking about. Because at the government level, there is a wider reach, in a sense. Governments actually have the ability to come up with regulations that they can then sort of work with companies to implement. So that can be also a very, very powerful tool. So yeah, to put it in a nutshell, partnerships, I think that really is the key.
Thank you. And I'm going back to you, but with different question. The importance of policies that sit by the national level to accelerate and include SDG as part of their work. What do you think those policies should look like? and the importance of them. And this, everyone, I just need you to prepare for that answer.
Yeah, so I think that we're already seeing this actually in the MENA region, but we're seeing it more in the terms of strategies and initiatives. So going back to the Saudi Arabia example, so we have the National Vision 2030. This is a very big guidance, I would say, even to companies that are working on their sustainable development. And actually, it's a very good way for companies to be able to sort of make sense of the sustainable development and why it's important to them. I've noticed that when we do tie sustainability and when we map it to the national strategy and we show them, okay, this is why if you do this, you're actually aligning with the KSA national strategy. I noticed that we actually get to attract their attention a lot more than if we just talk to them about sustainability in a larger context. Contextualizing something is very important. So when you put sustainability in the context of something regional and even national, and when you tie it to a national strategy, like the KSA National Vision, it makes a huge difference. Another one is the Saudi Green Initiative, SGI. This one focuses specifically on what KSA is doing for the environment. So the SGI has a bunch of targets and goals for Saudi Arabia, and actually it also seeks to have companies be part of this change. So again, what we would do a lot of the times is we would show the client, okay, so if you're actually going to set a target of reducing your carbon emissions by, let's say, 30% by a certain year, you're actually aligning with the SGI. You're aligning with something that KSA as a nation is doing. So you're contributing to something larger than you. So I really feel like it's a big, what we're seeing, these kind of strategies and these initiatives, they're making a difference.
Nice, Muhira. I thank you for that. Really, you have been included all part of the question in your answer. Abdul Qadir, again, from policy standpoint, civil society in the MENA region, how can they come up with a policy that force, in a way, their national level to include SDG in their work? 2 minutes for that.
Okay. Yes. So I think it's. I mean, for the civil society and the private sector or the government, is that to align the let's say the national priorities with the sustainable development goals with the SDGs, because sometimes if I I'm taking now here into account the developing countries in the Middle East and Africa. So because sometimes we don't have that luxury, or so it's a priority, and it's because sometimes we have a big issues and underlying issues in terms of food security, in terms of the the health services, the basic needs. So I think it's in this in this matter, that I think the government should align the SDGs with the national priorities. This is the first thing. The other thing is that I don't like it's the civil society or the private sector, even I think the government, they can encourage the private companies, or the civil society, or the government entities, to include the SDGs. So sometimes we have good experiences in I think some of the European countries, that if you are tackling specific SDGs, then you will be prioritized if to take to winning a tender or a project. At the same time, if they can also reduce the tax rates. So I think all of I think these policies that encourages all the civil society and the private sector to to take into partake the SDGs.
Thank you, Abdul Qadir. Thank you, Saad. I wanna have the same question for you. but I would like you to mention 2 or 3 policy for better integration for civil society in the region to achieve the SDG. What that policy will be like.
Okay, let me try to answer your first question, Magid, and I think I'll answer it with one answer, with one example from the United Arab Emirates, again as an observant myself. And we have in the UAE something called the Federal Competitive and Statistics Center. And this center is actually the center that's in charge of all the international relations and SDGs in the country. So, with regards to what private and public sectors have to follow. And the amazing part that this center does, I previously talked in a few minutes ago, that this center is actually is the catalyst for other private and public sectors in the UAE in order to achieve the SDGs goal. They often come with policies, they often come with the missions, and they have the national vision, the national SDG vision for the country. And again, to highlight with that, Magid, is the issue in the Middle East on a personal level. I believe it's not that people don't want to achieve SDGs; it's just simply people don't know what is SDG, and they don't have any idea why we need to achieve the SDG. But if they were given the opportunity to learn and understand a little bit of the meaning behind SDGs and why it's important for us to be committed and take it further, I believe that a lot of them would be committed. So I think one of the first policies that could be implemented for the civil society would be is providing them with an opportunity to learn about SDG and understand the concept behind it. And then based on it, I think it would be a great opportunity if the great leaders in the Middle East countries and the government itself would support grassroots foundations that are being led by youth, young youth themselves, who take the initiative to actually raise awareness of the SDG. And based on that, they can come up with great initiatives that could support SDG and improve the overall quality of the region itself.
Thank you. You mentioned a great 2 points about raising awareness, also giving the platform for the youth. Raising awareness and educate youth and the country and the whole region about SDG is important. In the same path of that question, we touched upon SDG number 4 and the education and the importance of education, not just to achieve the SDG, but also as human rights and required for everyone. How can you tell me, or you describe for me the importance of education achieving the SDG and the importance of education for better quality for individuals?
Whose question is it?
Still with you.
I'm sorry?
We're still with you, Suad.
Still with me, okay.
But I want to build in the same question about raising awareness and education.
Okay, again, I'm sorry, I don't think I got your question right. I think you asked how I believe about the part of education being a catalyst for SDG.
Yes, the importance of education, achieving the SDG, that's a part, but also the quality of education for individuals. Because as I know, you're getting a schooling right now outside the UAE for a better schooling, and that's everyone desire.
Yes.
So
again, Magid, actually, when you ask me questions, I get a little bit scared. I'm like, oh my God, what kind of question would he throw right now? But from the fun side of it, I think this question is really nice. And to also share my personal experience, I'm from the United Arab Emirates, and I studied in a local school. And again, they always say, what you know is what you know. Because I was living in the own box and in my own city and with my own family. But I think being provided the opportunity to receive a scholarship and go and study abroad in a country that I basically knew nothing about, such as South Korea, which is in Asia, and having to learn the language, having to learn the system, and having to be educated with regards to understanding everything about that country, have actually expanded my horizon in a different level. And as you mentioned, Margaret, this opportunity again, as a youth myself, I believe other youth, many of other youth all over the world will dream to have this opportunity. And I think from my side, because I appreciate that I received this opportunity and I believe other youth would have loved to have it, I tried to utilize it and maximize my skills and learn a lot about it. And actually, my major is in development and cooperation, but it's mostly focused on SDGs, UN work, and civil society opportunities and how they can improve their also UN agencies as well. And I think for me, going to a country that's very much developed, such as, for an example, Korea or Japan in Asia itself, is providing me with a high level education that when I go back to my country, the United Arab Emirates, I do believe that this positive impact will be also influenced to my colleagues, my families, and environment. So, again, that's why I talked about having the right opportunity for youth, because they would always try their best to educate others, not only be selfish and learn by themselves.
Abdelkader, the importance of education to accelerate the SDG. The floor is yours.
Yes, so yeah, I think education is crucial for. I mean, like if we talk like all like on the like 17 like sustainable development goals. If it's like related to the environmental health or employment or other things, it's just, I think it's all starting with education. For young people, I think like the technical skills and the skills like so like that will qualify them to have like a decent job, so like a small project. So I think, yeah, again, like the education is number one. So the education, I also like it's I think it's a gate, like to go away like from poverty, from unemployment, from all like the social and my economical issues. So I think, yes, I mean like technical skills are very important. I mean like the concurrent like need like skills, like the digital marketing, the programming. I think these are like very important. I mean like kind of skills that like young people should get, that will allow them to live in a decent life, and also at the same time to help achieve the other SDGs.
Thank you, Abdelkader. Muhaira, if I think both of my panelists here touch upon the challenge achieving the SDG in the region. I don't think that I give you the floor to answer that question, but they mentioned a couple good points, included the lack of opportunity and funding. From corporate standpoint and individual, I know you also participate in civil society. What also challenge you will add it?
I can actually give a very specific example of an SDG that I feel has been difficult to tackle within my line of work. So the first one that comes to mind is actually SDG 12, which is responsible consumption and production. Going deeper into that, I'd say one of the biggest challenges is actually waste management. So some of you might be familiar with what we describe as the linear economy versus the circular economy. So those are actually two opposing concepts. So in the case of the linear economy, we have our very traditional wasteful kind of take, make, and waste approach, as they call it, where traditionally there hasn't been much of an enhanced focus on proper waste management. It's kind of like a straight linear line. You take something, you take raw materials from the ground, you make the product, and then you throw it away. On the other hand, this gave rise to the circular economy movement, which is honestly a circular economy. It's one of my favorite concepts within sustainability. And it refers to the idea that we can operate in a way as people, as companies, as governments as well, to keep the things we use within a circular cycle that doesn't end up in the landfill. One example is actually something called the use-based model. So it's based on usage rather than ownership. So imagine you're a company that sells machinery. Instead of selling your machinery as an asset to the buyer, you instead just rent the machinery out as a service. What this implies is that the asset that you're selling, this machinery, it will remain within your ownership as the seller, and the buyer will only use the machinery for a certain period of time. So what that means is that if for you as a company, it becomes your responsibility to ensure that this machinery is well maintained, that it's reused for as long as possible, and eventually, this is the most important part, it's appropriately repurposed at the end of its life cycle. So we end up with less waste and more items that are being reused and staying within that cycle rather than simply disposed. It's a very nice concept. I encourage you all to read more into circular economy if it sounds interesting to you. But going back to your question, I see a serious lack of implementation across the region on proper waste management. Recycling is there, but it's not enough. I feel like we're sort of halfway through, but we're not quite at the level of reaching this circular economy concept. In the MENA region. And I think a big part of that goes back to changing the culture. And it goes back to actually what some of my colleagues mentioned today. So we're doing a fair job so far of integrating sustainability in general in corporates, as I talked about. But I think more can be done by regional governments when it comes to this specific transition to the circular economy, so that this culture is adopted by companies and also individuals. Because we can't ignore the role of waste from households as well. So the last thing I'll say is what I'd like to see hopefully in the coming years is that more countries in the MENA region are actually designing and implementing national circular economy strategies that extend across the country to tackle this waste issue.
Nice. So you call for action, which is actually one of the themes that we have for this conference is from implementation to action. And the role of youth. And that call of action remind me with the main theme of this progress for achieving SDG. How you feel about that progress? Muhaira.
Okay, so you're asking about the progress of SDGs?
Yes, how you feel about the MENA region collective effort as a progress achieving the SDG?
I think we're making big strides, to be quite honest. And I think that a lot of governments now, so if we zoom out a little bit and we go at the level of governments, I think a lot of governments are picking up on the importance of sustainability. As you rightly mentioned, we see the UAE, which I believe is the second Arab country to now host the COP or the Conference of Parties. We had Egypt last year as well. So I think that seeing this kind of movement and seeing this kind of interest in sustainability, it shows that this region is developing. It's going in the right path. Of course, you have to start somewhere. And I think we really do need to highlight the positives and the kind of progress we're making so far. I think a very, very big part, actually, this is a concept I wanted to touch on, if we have maybe a couple of minutes to spare. I think a very important part of achieving the SDGs, as also some of my colleagues mentioned, comes back to funding and a concept that's known as sustainable finance. It's a very crucial concept towards achieving the SDGs. I actually have a stat that I wrote down. So according to the UN, between 3.3 to 4.5 trillion dollars per year is needed to be mobilized in order to achieve the 2030 SDG goals. At today's level, both public and private investment in the SDGs, developing countries, including, of course, the MENA regions, they face an average annual funding gap of $2.5 trillion. This is a huge funding gap, especially given that we're supposed to be achieving these SDGs by 2030. So like the clock is ticking. Yeah.
Thank you, Suad. How you feel about MENA region progressing to the SDG?
I think on a personal level, I would agree with Mahira as well. I think seeing two countries in the MENA region hosting one of the biggest environmental events shows that we're going through the right direction. And I do also personally believe we are way behind. We have a lot more to do, but the good thing is the willingness is there. And we have been achieving a lot in a short period of time. I think that's a great achievement. And I look forward to what we're going to achieve too soon as well.
I like the positive note and intuition in your voice. I want to keep the question for you. In general, how's Abdul Qadir as a youth from the region feeling about MENA region collectively accelerating to achieving the SDG?
Yeah, so I think the interests and the efforts are actually gradually like increasing towards yeah, achieving the SDGs, especially in the GCC and northern of Africa. The other thing I think that it's I mean like there is also like a like due I think to a challenge, you know, like this region, like it's usually like it's a hot region like with a lot of conflicts and challenges. So I think that's why like it's just like, you know, balancing between like the SDGs and between like the national priorities, and again like also like raising like awareness on like I mean like the benefit of achieving the sustainable development goals on the society, on like for the individuals. So I think yes, it's it's growing gradually, but there's still a lot of work need to be done, like in terms of like building awareness and like into like a media and for like a social media for the society.
Thank you, Abdul Qadir. But again, I'm coming back to you with a message for youth, civil society, government, corporate to enhance the achievement of the SDG. What's Abdul Qadir message would be?
I think believing in yourself, everyone can like contribute to achieving in the SDGs in terms of personal habits, in terms of raising awareness on your surroundings, whether like if you are in a school or like a community or a family or like in a locality. I think yes, I mean like also like starting from like your the strength point. If you are a specialist in the environmental sector or like in media or whatever skills that you have, I think like you should be positive and believe in yourself, and that like you cross the message to your community. I think this is, I mean like our collective efforts can at the end lead to achieving the sustainable development goals.
Thank you, Abdul Qadir. Suad, your message in less than 1 minute.
Mine would be very short. Don't give up. It will be hard today, but it will be worth it tomorrow.
Beautiful. I love it. Hera, your message, especially for corporate, from your standpoint, individuals, government, and youth and civil society.
Let's not forget about being responsible companies. Ethical responsibility is very important. Profit is obviously a big motive, but we have bigger things to think about.
Thank you, Muhera. I will give the floor for half a minute closing remark. Anyone would like to be the first one? Just to close the session, anything you would like guys to add it for our conversation?
If I might add something, Mahat, I think the future of the Middle East and the MENA region in general relies on the power and motivation of its youth if they're wanting to change towards positive change. And I think the positive change is actually within our section, because we're also educated, even with little knowledge in our fields, but we have a lot to offer, and hopefully our brighter future is coming.
Beautiful. Abdul Qadir, anything to say?
Yeah, same. So yeah, I would like to thank you for having us here. Actually, yes, because actually I'm coming from Sudan. Like now we are experiencing like a difficult time. So we are I mean like not emotionally or socially or emotionally like mentally stable, because like we're that's why we keep mentioning about connecting the SDGs with the national thing. But again, I mean, like, with this kind of like negative bad situation, we can see hope, and we see like a future. Like we are believing in our capabilities, our skills, our connections and partnerships, and then also like yes, yeah, like I think that we are going to make it through. Well, and all of these I think private sectors that we're talking about, they're related, some like in one way or other with the SDGs.
Thank you, Abdul Qadir. Mahira, you have listened.
Yeah. If there's one thing that I can, for all the listeners, honestly, if there's one thing to take away, it's just that any positive impact you can have makes a difference, no matter how small. And that's the last thought I'd like to leave everyone with.
Thank you so much. It was a 1 hour of nice conversation, and we touch upon all issue, progress, and the positive for the future. That's our region, MENA region, can accelerate to progress and achieve in the SDG. It was my nice honor and a pleasure to have such expertise with me. I hope this connection stays, and for sure there is always to something in the future we can work together. I want to also thank all the people who's behind the screen watching us from around the globe. Best of luck. Thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.